What's going on? Kevin Kenny, welcome to the new edition of the Build Series here live from New York City. And today, I'm excited. We got a rock and roll Hall of Famer in the house. This man has amassed over 13 top 10 albums, 54 Hot 100 hits, and he's back for the holidays with Reason for the Season. Please make some noise for Mike Love.
Thank you, Kevin, everybody.
Yeah, please. I'm here every day. This is an occasion. You're here. This is great.
Oh, come on. This is awesome being here. I was here once before, a while back. I think you were still in grade school or something.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe in 8th grade.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. But it's great to be here, and this is really nice. Thank you for putting this up. This photo was taken off an island in Norway in this last February by my son, Brian Love, who's also singing on the album, along with his other brother, Christian, and his sisters, Haley and Amba. But he took this photo. He wanted to get the northern lights, called the Aurora Borealis, and he did. And he went all the way to Norway to do it. I said, haven't you ever heard of French Polynesia in February? It's a lot warmer and nicer. It's near the equator. But he did it. I mean, Polar Bear City up there.
I'm glad you start there because it's a beautiful album cover. And then if for you guys that may not know, it's also available on vinyl.
Yeah.
Really cool splatter vinyl.
It is. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's beautiful because you take it out and it's all red and green and very Christmassy colors.
Yeah, it's very punk rocky. A lot of punk rock vinyl.
Rock. I've been called worse.
Well, hey, I wanted to ask you, when Brian took this photo, it's a beautiful photograph.
Yes.
Did he know it was going to be on the album cover?
No.
So
No.
you saw, yeah,
Nor
tell the
did
story.
we.
You saw it.
This was February. Now we're talking, a little
Yeah.
late. But when we saw he's done amazing things. He's gone to New Zealand. He's done Patagonia. Patagonia, I can barely spell it. He flew down there and he's got these picture of these two little cougar cubs and the mother. He just happened to be walking along the trail,
Yeah.
But he loves to go to places like National Geographic photographers will take people on these photographic safaris, and this is one of them. And he went on. Yeah. He's an artist in terms of the lens. Yeah.
And I also like that it's a little non-traditional in the form of a holiday album artwork. You know what I mean? It maybe not what you would expect. But speaking of this record, you obviously been working on it throughout the year. I was curious, is it hard to sort of conjure up that holiday spirit earlier in the year in the warmer months?
Well, it's funny you should say that, but the Christmas tree, the original Beach Boys Christmas album came out in 1964. We all put on our sweaters. It was in the middle of summer. We go into the Capitol Records, and they had a beautiful Christmas tree all decorated, and we're decorating the Christmas tree. But it was, totally not Christmas time. But that's the way it is. You have to work months in advance to come out with a Christmas record. So I have a song on this album called Alone on Christmas Day. The concept is you'll really never be alone on Christmas Day. It gets a little mystical in terms of the interpretation of what I'm talking about. However, it's a sweet song. I was thinking about people who, whether they're in the service or away from their home and family, and with the warmth, being alone in that season, it's not so much fun, but really there's, with all the love and history, and if you conjure up and remember, your parents, your grandparents, all the great times you've ever had during Christmas, then, or the holidays for that matter, for anybody, not just people that are raised like I was with you going to church and stuff, but there's a whole idea of the gospel choir's chorus tells of the love the Lord has for us. I mean, that's a line in the song. So I just incorporated some of the philosophy and some of the experiences that I've had, and relating to people like who were in Vietnam during December, during the Christmas season, who've written us letters and given us gifts and things because the what our music meant. So our music kept them company when they were away from doing what they had to do. So music has been such a great thing. It's been such a great comfort and companion to so many people that you literally aren't alone. Because there's a lot of thought and love that's gone into the music that then it's communicated by various people like yourselves and others, and it's a great thing to do an album. And reason for the season itself, the title, I wanted to make up a record that reminded people that essentially it's a holiday and that Jesus preached love, and I think there's nothing more necessary these days in the world than a bit more love, you know. I was thinking about the title, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love, but that was taken already, you know, so.
For only a couple of years.
Yeah, but no, this is the whole thing, the philosophy, some of the religious songs, more of the cultural fun songs, like Finally It's Christmas with Hanson. Yeah,
Who are in town today, by the way.
Yeah, well,
they're up the road at Billboard. Should have called them up. They could have come down here.
I wasn't invited. No, they should have come with me. That we had we did the Today Show yesterday morning and did their song is called Finally It's Christmas, but I sing the lead on my album here, and they backed me up and stuff. And we did a launch party last night, which was a lot of fun. They are really great singers.
How'd you meet those guys? Because this is actually the second song you did with them. You did It's Okay earlier.
Well, we almost met when it was the first concert they ever went to. It was a bunch of young kids. Yeah, I mean, literally 6 years old and 10 years old and whatever. And there's a photo they showed me yesterday of them standing next to a white limousine, which they think was our limousine in Oklahoma, where they grew up.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's
so
too funny.
But we didn't meet them then. But we met him through some musical circles. A fellow named Steve Greenberg, who's done recordings with them before.
Produced on the record.
Yes, exactly, along with Sam Hollander, who's brilliant and great guy. It's fun to work with. Those two guys produced that song, and so we were just introduced. And I love their song, Finally It's Christmas. I think it's fantastic. It both has the cultural funness of reindeer on the rooftop and get your stockings up in time for Christmas Day, but also about what the Savior brings and all that. So it has the element of, you know, the philosophical part of it, along with the fun part of it.
Yeah. The record is a great mix of classic holiday songs and, of course, new songs that we've talked about on stage here. Yeah. Was that, how much thought went into that in terms of giving that balance to the record?
Quite a bit. See, back in the early days before we became the Beach Boys, we were first cousins, Brian, Dennis, and Carl Wilson, and myself, Mike Love. My mom was one of 8 children. And so we had lots of first cousins, some of which we formed the group with. And my mom was incredibly into music. In fact, we had a grand piano, an organ, and a harp in our living room. I have 2 sisters that play harp. One of them plays on this album, but she also played on In My Room and Catch a Wave from the earlier Beach Boys songs. So it's just been, you know, a sort of like a generational thing that I grew up doing Christmas carols around the neighborhood, the parents and the children together, just caroling around the neighborhood. My mom was incredibly into music, so she thought it'd be fun to do Christmas parties, and we'd go caroling around the neighborhood, you know. So if we passed by the Jewish family's house, we wouldn't bother them with old little town of Bethlehem, but we would lay some jingle bells on them.
There you go.
So it was kind of fun like that, and you know, appreciated all kinds of cultures and ethnic groups and everything you can possibly imagine. I'm very into all kinds of philosophy of various kinds, from Hindu, Buddhist, you know, you name it. Took all the Jewish holidays, even though I'm Protestant, you know. Anyway, I was born and raised that way anyway. So it's just with all these different ethnicities and orientations and cultures, and there's so much misunderstanding of each other, and instead of animosity and acrimony, I wanted to promote something that talks about love. More love is needed, more positivity and more harmony, and that's hopefully what we're expressing in this album.
Yeah, I heard you say not too long ago that you think that, or you feel that the Beach Boys, in one word, would be remembered for happiness. It's cool you're continuing that trend, like you're saying right now, with this record of spreading happiness, spreading love, spreading joy, and again, working together, which I think we can all agree the world needs more of right now.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, when we started out, we didn't think in terms of being rock stars. There were no rock stars. There's Elvis Presley, He was a rock star, yeah, I guess. And Little Richard and Chuck Berry and the Everly Brothers and Fats Domino, and that was early rock and roll that we were exposed to. So, but what we did, our family, my mother came from Kansas during the Dust Bowl days, and they literally camped on the beach in Southern California because they didn't even have a house to go to. They were very poor. My grandfather was a plumber who worked in like oil fields and stuff like that. So what they did have though was music, and they loved music, and they could sing, and they could harmonize, and they could play the piano. My Uncle Charlie played the boogie woogie on the piano, and reason for the season of the song is a boogie woogie kind of thing,
Yeah.
with a baritone sax solo in the middle of it, which is unusual for a Christmas record. But anyway, it's the love of getting together and harmonizing, which is the essential ingredient in all that we've done.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you talk about those early rock and roll days. We actually have a clip from a few years ago.
Few?
I want to show. Yeah, just a few years ago, maybe two.
Another
or three.
millennium, you mean?
Let's roll to that right now, and I want to get your thoughts on this.
Let me sneak in here. May I have, I'm sure most everybody knows, but for anybody who might not, may we introduce you by name?
Al Jardine,
Thank you, Al.
Dennis Wilson,
Thank you.
Brian Wilson, Carl Wilson.
Mike Love. Now, I think, what happened? There you are. 4 are related and 1 is a poor lost stranger. How did you get into this whole thing?
I'm a schoolmate of Brian's.
Oh, well, that worked it out well. So you are not a Wilson brother. He's a cousin on the end?
A cousin.
Yeah.
We can now confirm years later.
First cousin.
First cousin.
Yeah, my mom and their dad, so their brother and sister.
Right. When you see that clip, what's the first thing that you think of? The first thing you think of?
I was thinking we were pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Pretty-
That had to be your
Yeah.
first appearance on American Bandstand. Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do. And we made subsequent appearances, too. Dick Clark was the most amazing, wonderful man. He was a great guy and smart, too. And he was so nice. And one other interview he did, he says, how does it feel does it feel weird being talked of as a legend? And I said, no. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Hey, 54 Hot 100 hits.
What's that?
54 Hot 100 hits, 13 top 10 albums on the Billboard charts. I'd say legend is well-deserved.
Well, I'm actually nominated to the
Is the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Not,
We just jinxed you, no.
well, no. The thing is, nominated is one thing.
Right.
Inducted is a whole other.
Yes.
That's what you want.
Fingers crossed.
But there's two categories. One is songwriters who just write the songs and other people sing them, and there's one that's performing songwriters, and I fall into that second category.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Hall of Fames, I saw something online about you were there for the opening of the National Top 40 Hall of Fame not too long ago?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
It's a radio station in Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's neat.
That was fun going there.
Yeah. What's the Hall mean to you? We've had Hall of Famers on the show before. I get different answers every time I ask, but what does it mean to you personally?
Well, it means chronology mainly is what it is. I mean, it's a nice honor to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame museum in Cleveland, which is where my nephew Kevin plies his trade, meaning he's a basketball player with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I told my nephew Kevin, I said, I used to be somebody in the family till you came along. Yeah, but he's got an enormous salary every year, and I never thought I'd root for anything having to do with Cleveland except the nice fans that like the Beach Boys. But he's there, and so we're rah Kevin.
Yeah, I actually not only is Kevin just an amazing basketball player, he wrote this tremendous article at for the Players Tribune earlier this year. We have up right now. Did an immense amount of good for the conversation of mental health.
Right.
And I was curious, going back to thinking of that bandstand clip and just when you guys were getting your start and your career early on in music, was mental health ever discussed?
No, and I wish it had been more because we would have probably been able to deal with the issue of drugs and alcoholism within our family, which is also our group. The group is part of, in part a lot, we were family. And so you don't know, if you're not trained and you're not smart enough about it, you don't know how to deal with somebody who's doing a little too much of this or that. That's a negative lifestyle choice. So we didn't know how to cope with that, and it's sad because, for instance, my cousin Dennis got way too involved with drugs and alcohol and ended his life much earlier than he should have passed away. That was 1983, and then of course, even cigarettes, as harmless as that may seem, my cousin Carl died of lung cancer, but he started smoking when he was like 12 years old.
Right.
And the statistics aren't good. So I don't know if knowledge means anything, but there are statistics, there are knowledge, there's rumors going around that certain things aren't good for you, like some of these opioids that are talked about all the time these days. But with me, what the beautiful thing is, and I admired Kevin for having the candor to come out and talk about the issues that affected him. But for me, I was helped out a lot by learning meditation, transcendental meditation from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who brought TM to the Western world. And just a month or so after I learned meditation, I was invited to go to India, which I did go, and the Beatles were all there when I got there. I'm talking about the humankind in a group, and Donovan and Mia Farrow and her sister Prudence, the subject of Dear Prudence that was written by John Lennon. Yeah, so it's been a fascinating thing. That meditation has helped me to be grounded, and your own inner intelligence becomes a little more refined when you do this type of meditation, and your lifestyle choices, I think, are a little more life-supporting, meaning you don't need a drink to relax. You don't need a pill to relax. You don't need to smoke any weed to relax. No, you can relax completely naturally yourself learning this technique, and that's been a huge benefit to me, not only just in terms of relaxation, but energy and clarity and positivity. I've always had the nature to accentuate the positive in lyrics or whatever, but meditation, or TM they call it, transcendental meditation, does help a lot in getting rid of the stresses that we're all affected by.
Yeah. You touched on a family there, and there's always a big to-do about these rock and roll families that, struggle over the years of getting along and keeping the band together. We had Dave Davies on the show recently, and he was opening up about him and his brother, the Kinks. Is this...
Well, the Everly brothers didn't even speak to each other, and they did fantastic music together.
What is it about rock and roll? Is it about rock and roll, or is it about the family that makes it so hard for these big groups to stay together and get along? Is it just, because...
Sometimes it's lifestyle choices, like if somebody's doing heroin and you're not in favor of it, then there's an issue that rises up, and you try to save that person, or you think you're trying to save them, but then maybe they have something going on mentally deeper within that causes them to reach out and do something like that. But that's happened in my lifetime, in my group, and it's a tragic thing, because if you see somebody who's succumbing to alcoholism or something like that, it's horrible and it's awful. And certainly there are programs for people to get off that stuff and everything, but and that's why I'm such a proponent of meditation, because that can help get rid of the inner stresses and turmoil, and perhaps not be as likely to go into some downspin or tailspin that so many people are affected by. But I don't think it's just family. It's the family of man. It's family of mankind. It's family of...
Right.
And I don't mean that in a gender way either.
No.
I mean just people in general, whether you're family or not.
Yeah.
We're all subject to the stress and fatigue and the horrible things that can happen. But there's also some really great things that can happen. And I think more great things happen if you keep a positive mental attitude, and if you make your lifestyle choices that you know are better than others. There's yoga instead of getting wasted.
Right.
Yeah. And yet you can get high doing yoga, right? Or feel better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of lifestyle choices thing, and I don't fault anyone for wanting to feel better. Believe me.
Yeah.
And I just think that I recommend that there's better ways to if you want to live life to its fullest, and we started in 1961 making records, and here we are talking about a new album in 2018, and 11/12. So yeah, it's a good thing to just to make the right lifestyle choices and try to help each other to make better choices. We did a song years ago called Friends. We've been friends now for so many years. We've been friends through the good times and the tears. Turned each other on to the best things that life has to give.
Yeah.
So that's one of our songs that we did as the Beach Boys a long time ago.
It's well said. I mean, just to build off what you were saying there, it's amazing how many of the solutions we seek in life can actually be found within, right? Like you said, yoga instead of getting wasted and whatnot.
Inner is basis of the outer, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was reading, before we turn it over to, I think we have a Twitter question, and then also we have some fan questions, but I was reading a Rolling Stone article recently, and I haven't seen this story anywhere, but I wanted to ask you if you have any more clarity on it, I guess you were at the White House recently?
Yeah.
And you were talking about Donald Trump tried to help Whitney Houston back in the day.
He did.
There was some story there. What is the story with Donald and Whitney? I'd love to hear it.
What it is, well, first of all, I was at the White House for the signing, the president signed the Music Modernization Act, which helps every writer and every musician in terms of getting compensated for their efforts. And so that was a good thing.
It's a great thing, yeah.
And I mentioned Whitney Houston because at Mar-a-Lago, many years ago, before you ever thought about going into politics and becoming president, Donald Trump invited Whitney and Bobby, and Bobby Christina was just a little baby, and my children were there, and his kids were there, and we did a benefit show at Mar-a-Lago. We've done several of them over the years. So we've known him for a bunch of years, and I said, that was trying to help Whitney Houston get her life back together because she was, involved in so much drugs and stuff, which eventually took her life. So he really did try to have her there and have her look forward to something. He had the president of Revlon, and they're trying to get her interested in a path because she was an amazing singer, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Just an amazing talent, but kind of blew it all because of drugs. So he tried.
Would he have talks with her or anything like that, or was it more like kind of like?
Oh no, he definitely spoke with her and tried to help her out and stuff.
Right. Hey, when you were at the White House, did you see any of the other artists that stopped by? I think Kanye was there, Kid Rock was there.
I didn't see Kanye, but Kid Rock, yeah, he was
Oh,
cool.
nice.
He was cool. I bowed down to him. I said, you have the record for the what we used to call Pine Knob, but it's a DTE. It's a big amphitheater outside of Detroit. 12 sold-out shows in a row. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
incredible.
I have to hand it to him. He was great, and he was cool. He thought about how the Music Modernization Act. He spoke about how it helps everybody, not just the big stars that are making a living and doing well, but the people, the recording engineers, and all the people
Everybody.
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's a really great act.
Cool. So let's turn it over, I should say, to the audience. The first question, I believe, is going to come from up front.
Hi.
Hi there. So you spoke a little bit about, physical and mental health, specifically about vocal health. Do you do anything to keep your voice in shape? Any exercises or anything like that as a professional?
Yeah, first of all, I don't drink hard liquor. Second of all, I don't smoke cigarettes. Third of all, we do vocal warm-ups before we do on stage most nights. We have these little vocal exercises we do. And Tony Bennett's our idol because he's like 91, 92 years old, and he sounds fantastic. He can sing without a microphone. He can do "Fly Me to the Moon," So he's like what is somebody to look up to in terms of even with age. If you exercise vocals cords are like muscles. If you don't exercise your muscles at all, they get very flaccid and but if you keep somewhat toned, that's why I mentioned yoga's pretty good at that. It's extremely good at that. And so we exercise that musculature called the vocal cords. And so we try to get some rest. We don't stay up all night, and we don't drink to excess or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not a teetotaler per se, because if even anybody wants to celebrate, I'm there with you on a glass of champagne or something. But I also understand not drinking anything. You know, our friend John Stamos went through some treatment and stuff, and he doesn't drink a drop of alcohol, which is great because, you know, he lost his father. It was traumatic for him. He lost his mother, and to medicate himself, he started, you know, drinking too much, and now he doesn't do anything. And he's married, and I helped officiate his wedding, by the way. Yeah, it was pretty. He asked me, "Would you marry us?" I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, I would really like it if you'd marry us." And I said, "Well, okay." And so I and another fellow were the pastors at the wedding, and I jokingly say he wanted somebody with experience, because I've been married more than once. Anyway, so but that's what we do. We live a sensible lifestyle. Don't do anything to harm the voice, and exercise it. Before you even go on stage, you do some vocal exercises. So.
It's a great question, too, when you think about, do I have this right? You did 185 shows last year?
Yeah, performances.
I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, but it was only 175 places. Meaning there were some places that were kind of small and you did 2 shows.
Yeah, but you're singing every night. You're singing 185 times. That's
true.
Even all the more credit to you, and
That's true.
longevity is
But
incredible.
we spread it around. We have some good singers in the group. You know,
Right.
We have John Cowsill on drums, who was in the group The Cowsills years ago, and he's a great singer. My son Christian plays with us. He does Godly Knows and does Help Me Rhonda. And, so we have different people doing leads. But I do a fair amount of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, quite the team you've assembled there. We're going to get to our second question. It'll come from over here.
This new album incorporates a range of music styles.
Yes.
Is this the debut of the new Mike Love, or is this the celebration of the great range of styles of your whole career?
Well, it's kind of the latter. It's kind of a accumulation of the different styles of songs that you can sing. Like, for instance, Little Saint Nick, we did in 1964, but I re-recorded it for this album. And Jingle Bell Rock is that Christmas rock and roll kind of thing, which is fun. But also we did the Christmas carols, the religious songs, and Do You Hear What I Hear, and Bring a Torch, which is from the 1600s in France. It's a Christmas carol from France, from the old days. And so my daughter Haley sang that so beautifully, and then we harmonized together. So it was kind of taking the origins of the Beach Boys through the family gatherings at Christmas time, and reenacting it, reincarnating it in this record with some of the religious music, along with Reason for the Season being the title song, having to do with appreciating all the good things about this time of year and the holidays, but also taking, really reminding people that Jesus spoke of love and that we need more of that in the world. And Buddha even said, like I said before, Buddha said, only love can conquer hate.
Great question. All right, final questions can come from Twitter over here. We got a user at PL Farrelly. I hope I didn't butcher that, Mr.
Farrelly,
PL,
Patricia Farrelly.
It says, the question is, you grew up singing Christmas songs with your siblings, as you talked about on stage. Do you feel that it has come full circle having your children singing Christmas songs with you on this album?
That's exactly right. It is full circle. It was kind of a thrill for me to hear my daughter Amba sing "O Holy Night," and my sister Maureen, who played on her earlier records, playing the harp, his harp and voice in some backgrounds. It was beautiful. So yeah, it's hard, almost hard for me to listen to. I get choked up. I'm thinking of all the love that was expressed through music all my whole life, from my early days of childhood, and now again with my children, singing with me and individually being featured on the songs, and they all have the great voices. So yes, it was definitely for me a reason to get together, a reason for the season to get together. And we have a beautiful studio in my home in Lake Tahoe, and we were all able to get together, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, I bet.
Although I wasn't allowed in the studio when my daughter Amba was doing "Oh Holy Night," she said, "No, go away."
Nurse, she doesn't want Dad around.
Well, no, it was just that she wanted to be free of any observation whatsoever to do her part in the song, and so I had to respect that. So sadly, I left the studio. But our longtime musical director, Scott Totten, produced those carols, and he did a beautiful job.
Oh yeah, it came out amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're rounding out the show right now, but I do want to talk about you're on tour right now. You kicked the tour off earlier this year.
We
You're
are.
in New Jersey on the
We're
Saturday.
in Boston tomorrow night, and then
wow.
Wait a minute. Yes, tomorrow night and the next night.
I mean, you're going all the way up till I think like the 17th or 18th of December.
18th is the last of the Reason for the Season tour, Christmas type tour. But then next year, we're already planning on next year, Reason 2.
Yeah, the sequel, the highly anticipated.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, I know some of the shows are sold out, but tickets I'm sure are still available. A few of them online. Is there a website or just Mike Love?
MikeLove.com or the Beach Boys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Either or. Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Kevin. All right, thank you.